Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot to cover. Government shutdown averted, perhaps. We'll talk about that. We've got a lot of local issues. I'm going to clarify a little bit of what we talked about yesterday with the sheriff and the county. We also have some updates on Governor Hochul and the budget process. So 2 budgets, the state and the federal. We're going to be talking about it this morning. Along the way, we have a lot of other topics as well. So let's get right to it. Some comments after yesterday's broadcast. And by the way, thank you so much for all the very kind words. Yesterday was the 2-year, it's hard to believe, 2-year anniversary of Frankly Speaking, and I appreciate everybody who had such nice things to say. And of course, I don't know if I did a good enough job thanking all the guests that we've had on this program throughout the 2 years. We appreciate that as well. Next week, we've got a very busy lineup. This week, it's just been you and I, essentially. But next week, we have a very busy lineup of guests, which I will be announcing on Monday. On Tuesday of next week, just as an kind of an update, we will not have a broadcast of Frankly Speaking. There is a baseball game. I know that seems like a very odd time for a baseball game, but I believe it's being played in Tokyo. So I look forward to watching that game. But, of course, you will all be missed. But let's get to these viewer comments. Besides a 2-term political limit, let's bring back the old slogan, America, love it or leave it. Very reminiscent of what Ted Cruz said in regards to the Columbia student, the Columbia graduate that was arrested. We're going to talk about that coming up in a little bit. Comment from a different viewer. Oh boy, did you happen to see the town hall meeting that Representative Chuck Edwards of North Carolina held? The whole room seemed to be filled with Democrats. For example, whenever a new question was asked, not only that question was meant to undermine President Trump, but at the same time, the entire audience would stand and clap. Clearly, there was an underlying motive propagated by the Democrats. And that is the argument that I've been making on this program. And I understand the need for in-person town halls, and I don't want to undermine that thought. But right now is not the time, because it's not about having the conversation that a town hall brings. They're very productive. When you have a town hall where constituents can speak maybe their concerns or even, this is rare, but positive aspects of what their congressperson is doing, it is very beneficial. I, in full disclosure, helped put on town halls for both Representative Tom Reed and Representative Joe Sempolinski. So I understand their importance. Right now, it's not about having the conversation. It's about shouting someone down. And to that viewer's point, I was watching the news. I won't say what outlet it was this morning. It wasn't Fox, I can tell you that. But I was watching a different network, flipping through this morning, getting ready for work. And they used it just as I have been saying on this program. They used that town hall with Representative Chuck Edwards to suggest that not only are his constituents against Trump and him, that the whole country is now against Trump. It is being used as essentially propaganda. And that's what we've been saying about these demands, if you will, for town hall meetings. Because, again, they're not being used to have a conversation. They're being used to shout down the representative, to have these chants, to boo, to hiss, to scream in many instances. I know someone was escorted out of that town hall. And some representatives are still choosing to do them. And that's what happens. You can see the writing on the wall. You can see it coming a mile away, that it's being used to suggest, and incorrectly, but suggest that the country is against the president. And specifically, they love when it's a conservative representative where they can say, in this red district, constituents came out and were angry at what the president was doing. It's Yeah, it's essentially propaganda, and that's why I understand so many representatives saying they're not going to hold it. And the people that are calling for the town halls in most instances are not doing so in good faith. They're not doing it so that there can be an actual productive town hall. They're doing it for that exact reason, so they can shout down, yell, boo, hiss their representative. All right, comment from a different viewer. This is from Rick. Any idea who to contact or when the next anti-Trump protest is in Corning? Time to get involved. This list of, we'll say, baloney he has unleashed in the last few weeks is unprecedented. I never realized how many Republican cowards there are in Washington. So ashamed of what is happening, need to get involved. I'm not privy to the information on who to contact. Sorry, that was a garbage truck going by. If you could hear it. I do not know. Sometimes I get an email on it. I think there's various groups that are holding these anti-Trump protests in Corning. I could be wrong about that. The first one I did receive a press release. The second one, I received a press release, but it was held on Saturday. I believe I received the press release late Friday, so it was never anything I could bring to you. If you are interested in the anti-Trump protests, the one that I saw on social media said that the next one in Corning will be April 5th. If I'm wrong or someone involved in the production of those anti-Trump protests wants to reach out and tell me it's a different time. But what I had heard is they're looking to hold one about once a month. And again, if you trust social media, I saw that the next one is April 5th. So I hope that helps, Rick. Okay, so Chuck Schumer caved. And that's the headline even on more left-wing media. Not a lot of happiness for Chuck Schumer right now. We've talked about this in the past on this program where many Democrats, especially the kind of young Democrats, the AOC wing of the party, are upset with the leadership of Chuck Schumer, believing he's not doing enough. He's kind of been left with his tail between his leg numerous times, that he can't really lead the way that he might have once done. So there's a lot of anger, some, and we'll get to this later on, calling for AOC to actually primary him for Senate, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. Chuck Schumer made a dramatic U-turn yesterday, announcing that he would vote to allow Republicans to forge ahead with consideration of their plan to avert a partial government shutdown. He argued that if Democrats stall a Republican plan to avert a partial government shutdown, it will give President Trump too much power and have far more devastating ramifications than the GOP continuing resolution. Quote, while the CR bill is very bad, the potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse. Allowing President Trump to take even much more power is a far worse option. Weird way of wording that, but that's Chuck Schumer continuing, and we have an op-ed from him a little bit later on if we have the opportunity. But under a shutdown, Trump and Elon Musk would have carte blanche to destroy vital government services at a significantly faster rate than they can right now. I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country, to minimize the harms to the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down. Now, this does not mean this is over. That's just Chuck Schumer saying that he will vote for it. I believe the number of Democrats that need to vote for it is I believe it's at 8, because Senator Rand Paul has already declared that he would not vote for the continuing resolution. Yes, there it is. I should have just looked at the next paragraph. They will likely need 8 Democrats on board. Schumer joined Senator John Fetterman as one of the few Democrats who revealed plans to support the Republicans in overcoming that filibuster. And going back to the AOC primary note, it's interesting because, and I keep pointing to that article that came out quite some time ago, I think it was right after Trump's election, that there's 2 wings of the party now, the Democrat Party. There's the Fetterman wing and there's the AOC wing. And it does seem to be going along that line. Now, there's also, and we'll dive into this deeper later on, it is being reported that Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, our senator, was heard screaming arguing that a shutdown would be far more devastating than the Republican continuing resolution. And this was during a meeting with Senate Democrats. She was heard screaming that a shutdown would be more devastating than the continuing resolution. Interesting. A lot of passion there. Schumer said funding the government should be a bipartisan effort, but Republicans chose a partisan path, drafting their CR without any input from congressional Democrats. That's what he said the day before. So this is quite a U-turn from the senator. Now, we know that the Republicans, we know that in Congress, Mike Johnson sent everyone home on recess until I believe it was the 24th. So what that did is force Schumer's hand to say, okay, if you're not going to vote for this, then you are shutting down the government. We don't have time to go back and change this before the 24th. Now, as of right now, it looks as if it will get enough Democrat support, but a lot of time still left to go. The vote will be today. Ironically, many of the Democrats who called for a hardball approach to the government shutdown fight would be utilizing the filibuster, something that many Senate Democrats previously attempted to pare back, if you recall. And who was it that said, I want to say it was Ilhan Omar, but I could be wrong. It was someone that really wanted to get rid of the filibuster. And then when was asked about it after Trump won, said, nope, they are no longer interested in getting rid of the filibuster, just clearly showing their partisanship. Clearly showing kind of that base politics. Back in 2022, Schumer took up consideration of a measure to shift to a watered-down talking filibuster. Now, AOC wrote, and we're going to talk about her more later, wrote, it should be very clear to every Senate Democrat that any vote for cloture will also be considered a vote for the bill. Republicans run the House, the Senate, and the White House. You run the government. If you have the votes, then go ahead. She chided in another post. All right. So we're going to talk, we're going to talk about that in depth a little bit later on. That was just kind of a somewhat breaking story to start the program with. Now, yesterday also saw many protests in support of Muhammad Kali, the Columbia graduate who was arrested by ICE. We're going to give you a couple quick updates on that. Then we really do have to get into a lot of local issues. But I see already we're running late. I got a feeling this is going to go quickly this morning. So I hope that you'll be a part of it. Feel free to comment. Feel free to wave. We're just getting started on the Friday edition. We'll consider this an extension of the 2-year anniversary celebration of Frankly Speaking. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
What if there was a place where every kid got a chance to be great? There is a place. Milton Hershey School. You see, we're more than a school. We change lives. And you can be next.
Welcome, Pangea Global Tea House.
Pangea Global Tea House offers comfort foods of the world with over 50 teas and a sampling of cuisine from over 10 countries. Come in and try our duck baki or eggs benedict. They are full of flavors your taste buds will thank you for.
Let's beat the dark days of winter and have a vacation from taxation with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. What better way to start or end every day than with hot water therapy in your very own Hesselson's Hot Tub. With every spa purchase, Hesselson's guarantees great customer satisfaction and the best service team in the area. Plus, with Hesselson's Vacation from Taxation sales event, free steps, free cover lifter, free music, and 0% interest-free financing. Ask about Hesselson's chemical auto ship program and save even more. Stop in today and see why after 70 years it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Hard to explain what this feels like. Moving piles of earth, towing up to 4,000 pounds, cutting millions of blades of grass. We could keep trying to put it into words, but nothing compares to experiencing it for yourself. You just have to get in the seat.
Right now, get 0% financing for 60 months and save up to $1,000 on select John Deere compact tractors from Lindsay Equipment.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And your Ford dealer is the place to start. With a full lineup of vehicles and available powertrains. Get your ideal combination of power and capability with gas, hybrid, or all electric. But more important than the power you choose is what you choose to do with it.
Right now, returning lessees can get a Ford Escape for $199 a month for 24 months. Only at your local.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A couple comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. Oh, Mark, I'm sorry. I started talking about the shutdown, and I didn't see your comment yet. So thank you for letting us know. I think I covered what you had to say. But also, you're right. Mark writes, I see New York State has gained population according to Cornell University. I wonder if they fudged the numbers or if they are counting illegals. It would be interesting to know if they're counting illegals because that would make sense. It was a 0.7% population increase. And actually, if you look at the our area, I know that Schuyler County, I think may have had the biggest population loss by percentage in all of the state. And then you had Steuben County did not do very well either. They had quite a loss. So yes, I wonder if they are counting illegals. That's a very good point. Good morning, Frank. This is from a different viewer. Well, good morning. Thank you for passing on information about our community. I'm with your listener, Rick. I will gladly be at any pro-Trump event in our area, even the anti-Trump events. And yes, I do know how to act like a productive member of society, LOL. Thank you very much. Yes, that was the anti-Trump, anti-Musk rallies they've held, that I know of. They've held two, or has it been three? I think it's two so far. A good turnout. The one that I saw, which was during, it was President's Day. I know they held one on a Saturday. I think it was last Saturday, perhaps. There was even a larger turnout. This is an anti-Trump rally. I just wanted to highlight that. And Rick was asking because he wants to attend an anti-Trump rally because it sounds as if he's not a very big fan of President Trump. And he asked when the next one was. Again, I am not privy to the inside information there, but I did see a post online on social media that there will be one held on April 5th. As for who puts them on, I don't have that information. If I do receive an email with a press release in it, I will let you know. But that's what I have heard. Okay, protests going on in regards to Muhammad Kali. I want to make this kind of quick because we want to get to local issues. But nearly 100 protesters arrested after storming Trump Tower, chanting, "Fight Nazis, not students." And you can tell you've got to take the article with a grain of salt because it calls them pro-Palestinian activists. And they call specifically Muhammad Kali a pro-Palestinian activist. This is typical media. It needs to be called out for what it is. It's anti-Israel. It's anti-American. It's anti-Semitic. More than 200 protesters gathered in support of Muhammad Kali. Many of the protesters wore red shirts with the lettering in white, "Not in our name," and "Jews stop arming Israel." They held large white banners stating "Free Muhammad, Free Palestine," and "Jews say do not comply." Now, we learned late last night, early this morning, that DHS agents searched two Columbia University residences days after anti-Israel agitator Muhammad Kali arrested. The Department of Homeland Security executed search warrants on two Columbia University residences on Thursday night, just days after anti-Israel agitator Muhammad Kali was arrested by ICE at an off-campus apartment. Interim President Katrina Armstrong revealed the raids in a letter to the Columbia community and noted that nobody was arrested or detained when the feds searched the rooms of two students. Quote, federal agents from the DHS served Columbia University with two judicial search warrants signed by a federal magistrate judge authorizing DHS to enter non-public areas of the university and conduct searches of 2 student rooms. The university has a clear protocol in place. Consistent with this protocol are long-standing practice and the practices of cities and institutions throughout the country. The university requires that law enforcement have a judicial warrant to enter non-public university areas, including residential university buildings. The heartbroken leader said she was obligated to comply with the law, adding that no items were removed and no additional actions were taken by the feds. So you see in her statement, the acting president or interim president, because the other president was ousted, you can tell that she is trying to placate the anti-Israel protesters, saying everything we could do. We tried everything we could do to make sure that this wouldn't happen, but it did. I'm heartbroken. I understand the immense stress our community is under, she said. This is because if you look at the one Colombia president, and I think that was the last one there was before this interim, she was ousted, not because she let these anti-Israel protests run amok, not the Jewish students were being harassed. That was not the reason why she was ousted. She was ousted because she had the audacity to call the police to break up the encampments, to show you the mindset on these university grounds. And because, again, we've had example after example of faculty, the supposed grown-ups in the room who are supporting these anti-Israel protests. I'm not going to read any more of her statement, but that was a story that came late last night. Columbia University also expelled some anti-Israel students who seized Hamilton Hall during last year's protest. They're trying to do everything they can to get back that $400 million from the feds that President Trump cut because they have not done enough to stop this anti-Semitism, to stop this anti-Israel sentiment on college campuses, and specifically Columbia. And remember, this is happening in our backyard as well. Binghamton is being investigated, but also we had the vile language at that, I guess you would call it, conference at Cornell, where the conference was between a Palestinian leader, was it, and an Israeli leader, or former, I should say, leaders, and it was disrupted by anti-Israel protesters. But at Columbia, they have expelled some anti-Israel protesters who last year stormed that Hamilton Hall building. While it says here, some of them have been tossed or suspended, while some who have since graduated lost their diplomas temporarily. How does that work? The series of punishments were doled out by Columbia's judicial board. The Ivy League revealed nearly a year after these agitators caused chaos over Israel's battle in Gaza after the October 7th, 2023 terrorist attack. The level of discipline was based on school officials' evaluation of the severity of behaviors, is said in a campus-wide alert. It's unclear how many students were expelled and how many were hit with multi-year suspensions. It's also unknown how many graduates had their diplomas revoked temporarily. Columbia said in an email that it could not disclose how many students were punished due to federal regulations. Now we know Columbia has been ground zero for these type of protests. This is, I'm sure, them realizing that the cash cow is drying up in the federal government, and so they want that $400 million back. Now, to that viewer's comment at the very beginning of the program, Ted Cruz had this to say about the protests. If you hate America or seek to undermine it, do not come to this country. And this was in reference to Muhammad Khalid. It's a great point, noting that non-citizens do not possess the rights to engage in activities undermining the United States, while slamming Democrats for their support and, quote, showing exactly who they stand with. This was on his podcast. He said he got a green card very quickly, and in his time in America, he organized anti-America, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas protests. And then he addressed those on the left opposing Khalil's detention. Under U.S. law, American citizens are protected by the First Amendment. Foreigners are not. A visa to come to this country as a student, that is a permissive decision. And you do not have a right, if you are a guest to this country, to actively undermine America. And then he delivered a sharp warning against foreign nationals engaging in anti-American activism, asserting that those who hate America have no place in the country. Quote, let me be clear to anyone. If you hate America, if you want to undermine America, do not come to this country. He insisted that Trump's administration rightly arrested and plans to deport Khalil for organizing anti-Israel, anti-American, pro-Hamas protests. So if you want to know where Democrats stand, if you stand with Israel, if you stand with American Jews, if you stand with freedom, if you stand with the right to be free from oppression and violence, that ain't the Democrats. They stand with those engaged in violence. J.D. Vance says he expects a rise in deportations of illegal migrants in the wake of Muhammad Khalil's arrest. We're going to talk about that. A couple other quick updates, then we've got a lot of state and local issues to get to. So stay with us. We're just getting started here on Frankly Speaking. We'll be right back.
Getting the right representation.
It matters.
Hiring a law firm whose focus is motor vehicle accident cases.
It matters.
Hiring a firm with the experience and resources to maximize your recovery.
It matters.
William Mattar is the largest motor vehicle accident firm in New York State. We got that way by winning. If you're hurt in a car, it matters who you hire. Call William Mattar. Visit WilliamMattar.com.
New year. And for millions of New Yorkers, that means more money in your pocket. For the second year in a row, the minimum wage in New York State has gone up. Both this year and next, the minimum wage is increasing 50 cents per hour. That means an additional $2,000 to spend on all the things you and your family need. Then, in 2027, the minimum wage will be tied to inflation, which means increases will match costs. New York's new minimum wage, putting money directly into the pockets of New Yorkers who need it most.
Ever feel a spectator in your own life with chronic migraine? 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more. Botox prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. In a survey, 91% of users wish they'd started sooner. So why wait? Talk to your doctor.
Botox effects may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as trouble swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Those with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions like rash, breathing problems, dizziness, neck and injection site pain, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions like ALS, myasthenia gravis or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medicines like botulinum toxins, which may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Chronic migraine may still keep you from being there. Ask your doctor about Botox today. Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. As we look at that moon in the background, we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. I don't recall ever hearing a logical explanation for why we, the government, are giving colleges federal money for anything. I know some of it is about research. I know some of it is grants. I agree. I mean, the fact that Columbia, that's just one university in New York City, receiving $400 million from us alone. I totally agree. Not downplaying what you're saying at all. Comment from a different viewer. Not saying things aren't painful economically right now, but if Americans did not have huge debt and buy now, pay later attitudes, they would not panic. Save a buck or two and don't rely solely on the stock market. Thank you very much for that comment. We've got other comments coming in. We'll read those when we come back from break. So J.D. Vance expects a rise in deportations after the wake of Muhammad Khalil's arrest. We've almost accomplished complete border security, touting a well over 95% reduction in migrant encounters since President Trump took office in January. So once you get operative control of the border, now you have to ramp up deportations, he said. He talked about Joe Biden's underfunded migrant detention facilities and destroyed ICE, leaving the Trump administration with a hole that we had to dig out of. We're building that capacity up. I do think that you're going to see those deportation numbers rise. He said even the president every single day in private and public is asking, how do we get those deportation numbers up? It's good to have a leader who's impatient to get things done. And I think those deportation numbers are going to come up. You've already started to see some real progress. We're going to make more. When asked about the arrest of Muhammad Ali, Vance argued that the green card holder doesn't have an indefinite right to be in the United States. This is not fundamentally about free speech, and to me, yes, it's about national security. But it's also more importantly about who do we as American public decide gets to join our national community. And if the Secretary of State and the President decide this person shouldn't be in America and they have no legal right to stay here, it's as simple as that. I think we certainly see some people who get deported on student visas if we determine that it's not in the best interest of the U.S. to have them in our country. I don't know how high that number is going to be, but you're going to see more people. He also said the Trump administration will use everything it can to increase the number of criminal deportations. This was in an interview with Laura Ingraham. One last thing about this. Did you see the Tom Homan? We talked about Tom Homan's visit, the border czar, to Albany. He's cold, as the New York Post put it, cold as ice, or actually Fox News, cold as ice. So there's a chaotic scene at the Capitol in Albany, as you had the one guy who I think is running for mayor in New York City screaming at him, and you had others trying to kind of get at him, the Democrats in Albany, because remember, Albany's far, far left, and it is one-party control. The tough-talking Homan, who has become the face of the Trump administration's hardline immigration policy, was unfazed as he was being screamed at by pro-illegal immigrant activists. So unfazed that he was actually caught on video casually walking past the demonstrators, chomping on an apple as he was surrounded by protests. You could hear people chanting in this video, "No hate, no fear, immigrants are welcome here." And he just casually ate an apple. This guy is a superstar, Tom Homan. And I love, and I've been quoting this, and again, I thank you to the viewer who sent in this idea. I've been promoting the idea that, and we're going to talk about this in just a little bit, but the corrections officers, the 2,000 correction officers that Governor Hochul vindictively fired, and then even put forth an executive order that they could not be rehired at the state, local, or state, county, or local levels. Also took away their and their family's health insurance. Just a real nasty, nasty, vindictive decision. I love the viewer who suggested Tom Homan should contact them and hire them all for ICE, because New York State is going to need it, and that's what Tom Homan said. With these sanctuary city policies, if they don't change, you're going to see a lot of more ICE agents on the ground in New York City. All right, we got to take a break. Then we're going to talk about exactly that, Governor Hochul's rough month, and talk about some local issues. I want to give you an update and do a better job. I may save that for a little bit later on, but a better update on what's happening at the Steuben County level with the sheriff. First, I think we do a good job here as we celebrate 2 years on the air, on Frankly Speaking, of covering a lot at a breakneck speed. A one-man wrecking crew. I just go through as many stories as I possibly can, and we have such great comments, great waves. I have never once thought about taking a week off, citing exhaustion from Trump's presidency. But MSNBC host Lawrence O'Donnell did just that. Now, this story came out Wednesday, but because no one really watches his program, it wasn't reported until late last night. Lawrence O'Donnell revealed Wednesday that he was exhausted by covering President Donald Trump and that he was taking a week off from hosting his show. I feel the other way. I feel that we have so much to cover and we're so excited. We need to do 3-4 hours a day. I know you've pledged to cover and be here for the first 100 days of the Trump presidency. I hope you noticed that I did not make that same pledge, he told Rachel Maddow. Maddow, who actually hosts her show just once a week on the network. Yeah, what did she get paid? I know she had to take a pay cut, but I still think it's like $30 million to do a once-a-week program. She committed to hosting her program daily for the duration of Trump's first 100 days in office. How heroic. Wow. doing a news program for 100 days in a row for Trump's first 100 days. Just heroic is the only word I can think of. This is day 52. I thought it was day 92. It turns out it's day 52, Rachel. This is Lawrence O'Donnell. Thinks he's clever. No, he's not. And I'm exhausted at day 52, and so I'm going to take next week off. And I'm telling you that now because I know you don't like it when I just drift away. I'm just taking next week off. Then I come back and go with you all the way to the 100 days. We all tell each other, Maddow says, you have to take care of yourself. You got to pace yourself. You got to be in this for the long haul. So I can't hold it against you, but I'm very sad. And then she said, can I go with you? And the humorous, hilarious back and forth. He said, no. You said 100 days. You said 100 days. You can't. 100 days. Can you imagine, maybe I have a different perspective because I do this show every weekday morning at 6. Can you imagine presenting the news in this fashion that you are doing? I mean, they're presenting it as doing something heroic. You have to pace yourself. You have to take care of yourself. This is how full the media is of themselves, that they think the American people, well, not too many people are watching them, especially not all the American people, but they think that people are at home just saying, how do they do it? How do they go on a news set every day and not even report the news, in this case, push their bias? And the guy getting out of the coal mine after a hard day of work that turns this on, or heck, the corrections officer that just worked a 24-hour shift turns on Lawrence O'Donnell or Rachel Maddow and says, how do they do it? They need to pace themselves. They really need to take some time for themselves. Take a week off, Lawrence O'Donnell. You said you were going to do 100 days of the Trump presidency. You only made it 52 because you just can't. Good luck, buddy. Take that week off. Yeah, what do you think? Well, honestly, what do you think that, I think the correction officer is a great analogy. What do you think the correction officer that just got off a 24 or 36-hour shift thinks when they hear Rachel Maddow say, just pace yourself. You have to worry about yourself. And you've been biasly reporting the news for 52 days. You deserve a week off. You need it. I just like to give you examples of the media being so full of themselves. But we got to take a break. We're running late. Stay with us. We have your comments when we come back.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Trust your smile to Dr. Hench's at either Watkins Glen, Elmira, Horseheads, or Elkland Family Dentistry. All 4 locations provide cutting-edge technology to make sure your visit is comfortable and stress-free. Dr. Hench's offers treatment in all areas of dentistry, including same-day crowns, implants, root canals, oral surgery, and treatment for all ages. For the best dental care in the region, trust Dr. Hench's and his staff at Watkins Glen, Horseheads, Elmira, and Elkland Family Dentistry. Call any one of his offices today or visit them online for more information.
Beat the dark days of winter and have a vacation from taxation with the Hustlesense Hot Tub. What better way to start or end every day than with hot water therapy and your very own Hustlesense Hot Tub. With every spot purchase, Hustlesense guarantees great customer satisfaction and the best service team in the area. Plus, with Hustlesense Vacation from Taxation sales event, free steps, free cover lifter, free music, and 0% interest-free financing. Ask about Hustlesense Chemical Auto Ship program and save even more. Stop in today and see why after 70 years it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hustlesense.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And your Ford dealer is the place to start. With a full lineup of vehicles and available powertrains. Get your ideal combination of power and capability with gas, hybrid, or all electric. But more important than the power you choose is what you choose to do with it.
Right now, returning lessees can get a Ford Escape for $199 a month for 24 months. Only at your local Ford
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Look at that beautiful moon this morning as we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio on Market Street. All right, couple comments from viewers. Those small, shallow-minded protesters, that's the anti-Israel, anti-American protesters that we were talking about, are just as guilty of hate crimes as those who had targeted the Japanese after World War II. That's a very good point. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer, from Mark. I believe that Trump and Doge are doing it right. The people of this country have come to be too dependent on government. Just like the old saying, it's not what the country can do for you, it's what you can do for the country, which is kind of ironic that that's John F. Kennedy Jr. who said that. Think of how much that party has changed. That party has changed so much that they're not even voting for Kennedys any longer with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., something I thought I would never see. Even Trump saying, was that the inauguration? Yeah, it was. He said, I thought somebody on that side would vote for you, Bobby, being a Kennedy. But yeah, that was Kennedy who said that. So the Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party of your parents or grandparents, that's for sure. How Governor Kathy Hochul has gotten through an extraordinarily bad month. It's been a difficult 4-week stretch for Governor Hochul, considering this to be a partial list of what she had to deal with since early February. Thousands of corrections officers went on strike for 3 weeks, throwing the state prison system into chaos. At least 7 incarcerated people died during the walkout. The U.S. Attorney General sued Hochul over a law that helps undocumented people get driver's license. The feds tried to... Yeah, that went, by the way. I mean, you don't hear much more about that in the news cycle. The feds tried to halt congestion pricing in Manhattan. Hochul considered and decided against removing Eric Adams. Trump escalated a trade war with Canada, which threatens New York farmers and businesses. And former Governor Andrew Cuomo launched a run for New York City mayor. And that doesn't include the actual brush fires that took out 600 acres on Long Island over the weekend. Hochul's handled these issues with varying degrees of strength. Well, no, I would say she's been very forceful, very strong when it comes to her vindictiveness against corrections officers. I would also say she's been very strong in making it clear that she believes not only New Yorkers want more tax in the way of congestion pricing, that it is her job to fight the president to make sure that you get to enjoy your right of being taxed with that congestion pricing. Very tough talking on those two issues. Now I understand that Hochul is going to meet with the president today at the White House. Trump says he wants to revive the Constitution Pipeline, a project killed by New York regulators in 2016 over concerns it could impact clean water supplies. We're working on one project. It should be very easy. It's a pipeline going through a small section of New York. She thinks she's going to be a Democrat power broker, and she's not going to be. She just doesn't have the skill set to do it. But she thinks she is, and that's why she's doing this tough talking. And so I don't see her giving Trump a win on this. But then again, I see Trump being clearly the superior negotiator here. Trump said, New York has held up this project for many years, but we won't let that happen any longer. We will use federal approval. We're working on that. In fact, the governor's coming in, Governor of New York, Kathy Hochul. She's a very nice woman. She's coming in tomorrow morning at 9 to meet me on that and other things. Not only that, but other things. I'm assuming that's congestion pricing as well. Because the Federal Highway Administration set March 21st as a deadline for the MTA to stop collecting the $9 toll on drivers. But remember, she said New Yorkers who aren't going to be bullied by Trump, they want their congestion tax. They want the hardworking men and women in New York want that tax. So we'll find out how that meeting goes with Governor Hochul and President Trump later today. There's also an update on her budget, some of the things that were rejected from her budget. We're going to hear from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano and Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski on their thoughts on the one House budget. But first, we had, oh man, I'm running late. Coming up after this break, I don't want to run too late, we'll tell you what Kelly Fitzpatrick and Sheriff James Allard, Kelly Fitzpatrick, the chair of the Steuben County Legislature, and Sheriff Jim Allard had to say to Governor Hochul in a letter that was sent out yesterday. We also have an update that I want to, I guess, clarify the conversation we had yesterday when it comes to the county, Steuben County, and I guess you could say retaliation against Sheriff Allard. The Hornell Sun, which is a website that shares news from Hornell and from the county, has a letter to the editor, an opinion piece by Joe Ricalto. We're going to tell you what that we're going to read his piece because I think it kind of encompasses what we were talking about yesterday. And I said we have a few other New York State issues and some local things to get to as federal issues as well, I should say. All that and much more. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors. Easy to apply for the whole family. Vicks VapoStick. And try new Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors.
Sounds like you need to vaporize that cold.
Dayquil VapoCool?
It's Dayquil, plus a brush of Vicks vapors.
Dayquil VapoCool. The vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, stuffy head, power through your day medicine.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
Richard Seeley. I was in the U.S. Navy from 54 to 56.
Jim Morgan, U.S. Navy Air, 1952 to 1956.
I really appreciate the luncheons, mainly because you get the chance to talk to these guys and see their experiences.
And you get, people looking out for you. Because if you don't show up for dinner, they want to know why.
Every Judge Mathis presides.
Don't you ever form your mouth to talk to me like that.
Is another day when someone gets what they deserve.
What's wrong with you?
Mathis Court with Judge Mathis.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. You can still see that beautiful moon in the background. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Hey, I wanted to mention this real quick, and I've got some comments that I'm going to read here in just a moment. I wanted to mention this because this is really cool. If you haven't been to WYDCTV.com, our website, I highly recommend that you do. And what we just added, and I know this is a very popular thing right now, what we just added to the website, I'll put it up here on the screen, is that Big Bear Bald Eagle. It's a live camera from their nest. If you have not watched this, it's 24 hours. You can watch what is happening in the nest at this Eagles, at the Big Bear Bald Eagle live nest. So that is on our website at WYDCTV.com, WYDCTV.com. Okay, comment from a viewer. Why be mad at Trump? If the Democrats and Republicans had done their job, there would be no Doge. Good point. Comment from a different viewer. I'm glad Hochul is standing tall for the congestion tax because it will probably cost her the election. Because if I lived in New York City, I wouldn't vote for someone raising taxes. Mark, you're exactly right. That's what's so interesting. That she takes this. I don't understand what she hangs her hat on. That this is the fight she wants to take because she believes New York City residents are they're mad that Trump's trying to take away more taxes on them. Nonsensical. But yesterday, the chairwoman of the Steuben County Legislature, our friend Kelly Fitzpatrick, as well as our friend Sheriff Jim Allard, released this letter to Governor Kathy Hochul saying, Dear Governor Hochul, we write to express our strong opposition to your recent executive order, number 47.3, which unjustly prohibits Department of Corrections and Community Supervision employees from being hired by other state, county, or local government agencies. As public servants ourselves, we understand the importance of workplace safety, fairness, and support for our workforce. We strongly believe that our employees, especially those in positions of great responsibility, like corrections officers, deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. By singling out these employees and placing a permanent bar on their ability to find future employment of any kind in any municipality, your administration is not only undermining civil service protections, but also perpetrating a cycle of harm that will impact the families and communities they have served for years. This move is not only unfair, it is destructive to the very fabric of our communities. Leadership means standing up for workers, not abandoning them to serve political expediency. Sheriff James Allard, who has dedicated his career to law enforcement, has made it clear that such actions are damaging to the morale of law enforcement officers and public servants statewide. Additionally, Kelly Fitzpatrick, chair of the Steuben County Legislature, has voiced her deep concern about the long-term effects of this order. She has said, quote, "We cannot allow executive overreach to strip away the rights of workers, especially those who serve and protect our communities. What Governor Hochul is doing is wrong, and we stand firmly against it." End quote. Furthermore, in a time when local governments, including Steuben County, are grappling with severe staffing shortages and the need for qualified, experienced personnel, your executive order only exacerbates this crisis. It is unthinkable and outrageous that in the same breath that you push for second chances through the Clean Slate Act, great point, you are denying those who have devoted their careers to public service the chance to continue their work and support their families. What a great point. We talked about how how Hochul's been trying to get the federal employees to come work for the state, the federal employees that lost their job because of Doge. But that is a fantastic point. That in the same breath that you push for second chance through the Clean Slate Act, you are denying those who have devoted their careers to public service the chance to continue their work and support their families. Governor Hochul, we urge you to reconsider this ill-conceived order and immediately reverse your decision. Your actions are not only harming individuals, but undermining the public service system that relies on experienced, dedicated professionals. We believe in fair treatment, justice, and a commitment to supporting our workers, not unnecessarily punishing them. We stand with your corrections officers, law enforcement, and all public servants who deserve our respect and support. We ask that you listen to the voices of local leaders and take necessary steps to right this wrong. So thank you for that powerful letter to Governor Hochul from the chairwoman of the Steuben County Legislature, Kelly Fitzpatrick, and Sheriff Jim Allard. We're going to be talking about Sheriff Allard in just a moment. We do have to take our last break of this hour. It's hard to believe we're nearly wrapping up hour number one. Keep those comments coming in. Again, check out that Eagle camera on WYDCTV.com. You could get lost in it watching that. But we got to take a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Is it time for your next oil change? Are you too busy to do it yourself? Let the professionals at Quick Lube do it for you. With 2 locations better to serve you, Quick Lube makes it easy. Get your oil and filter changed and never leave the comfort of your vehicle. No appointment is needed. Just drive up and let Quick Lube do the rest. Keep your motor humming with Quick Lube on South Main Street in Elmira and Chemung Street in Horsehead.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And your Ford dealer is the place to start. With a full lineup of vehicles and available powertrains. Get your ideal combination of power and capability with gas, hybrid, or all electric. But more important than the power you choose is what you choose to do with it.
Right now, returning lessees can get a Ford Escape for $199 a month for 24 months. Only at your local Ford store.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are wrapping up hour number 1, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. We got a couple comments to read. In the next hour, we're going to talk about the sheriff. We're going to talk about the one-house budget at New York State, and then we're going to get into which we talked about a little bit at the beginning of the program, but Chuck Schumer caving and giving in to Republicans, it looks like, for the continuing resolution. First, folks, I hope you don't miss this. Wienerville is tomorrow from 4 p.m. till 10 p.m. And I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to it. I've talked to quite a few people that are going to be there. Yesterday, people were kind enough to say this is going to be a part of the celebration of the 2-year anniversary of Frankly Speaking. Well, I'm going to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of Frankly Speaking right there at the Moose Lodge 274 on Victory Highway in Painted Post. You see there all the information you need to know, but get a great meal, all you can eat hot dogs and baked potato bar from 4 to 7 p.m. I hope everybody can make it out and help an amazing cause, and that is the Salvation Army of Corning. I will be there. I'll try to take some pictures so we can put that on the air on Monday in case you missed it, but there's no excuse to miss it. I'm hoping everybody comes out. And if you do come out to Wienerville, make sure you stop over if I'm there. I'm going to be there. I don't know if I'm going to be there from 4 to 10. I can only eat so many hot dogs and baked potatoes. But if I am there, please stop over and say hi. I'd love to see you. And I hope everybody can make it out. We are probably going to talk about that a few more times before the end of the program. All right, let's go to viewer comments as we wrap up this hour. Backtracking. Regarding the $400 million loss that Columbia University doesn't deserve in the first place, I don't think it's entitled to the money anymore for the following reason. If you get fined by a judge for this or that reason, but later admit your mistake, the judge is not going to give you your money back, so why should Columbia get their money back? Or the money back, it's not theirs. It's a great point. I don't see any inclination that they're going to get that $400 million. I just think they don't want to lose more. They're probably looking for maybe in the future getting some more grants and some more money. They realize a lot of these universities have gotten, you've heard the term fat and happy. They just think that money's going to always be there. They use their students as a cash cow. That's why they don't ever want to reprimand the students. That's why they didn't shut down the protests, because they look at them as cash cows, bringing all that money. They look at the government in the same way, and they think that they're untouchable. That money's always going to be there. And then on top of all that, they always cry poverty on top of it. Never mind their endowments. They got fat and happy. That's the world of academia. They're in their bubble, and that's why they don't understand what's going on in the real world, and that's why they hire faculty that push this anti-Semitism, this anti-American sentiment to their students. So very good point. Ken writes in. What's Ken have to say? Good morning, Ken. Things you only do once. Okay, we'll treat this like a Johnny Carson skit. Things you only do once. Poke yourself in the eye with a sharp stick. Touch your tongue to a flagpole on the coldest day of the year. Take a knife to a gunfight. Get up at 1:30 in the morning and stay up until 3:30 to watch a total lunar eclipse in March when it's 20 degrees. Good to know, Ken. Didn't go as planned, huh? Sorry to hear that. But hey, you did it once. That's all that matters. We got to take a break. Wrapping up hour number 1. It is in the books. Hour number 2. Mere moments away. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
Due to Fox Sports Tonight, Big Fox News at 10 will be aired on our sister station, WJKP.
Every day Ebony K. Williams presides is another day when right prevails over wrong.
I can tell what happened here, sir, because I was born at night, not last night.
Equal Justice with Judge Ebony K. Williams.
It's hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us. Comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I support the work of Doge. What it is doing is to expose unnecessary spending of our elected officials. Yes, we have a couple of Doge updates a little bit. We're also going to talk about, if you are just joining us, that Schumer will clear the way for the continuing resolution, breaking with his party, making a lot of people mad. People are calling now for AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to primary Chuck Schumer for Senate. I could see that being a possibility. She's saying do not vote for it. So it's not a done deal, but he came out, Chuck Schumer, yesterday and said that it was necessary to protect, I guess, the country from Doge. Yeah. But we're going to talk about the New York State budget quickly, the one House budget that came out. But first, yesterday I tried to kind of explain what was going on with the county and the sheriff. We ran out of time because both pieces were so lengthy. What had happened is a sheriff made a presentation and then posted that presentation, or the speech from that presentation, on Facebook. And then the county, Steuben County, reacted to that with another very lengthy statement. So I thought this was coming from the Wellsville Sun and the Hornell Sun. They do a great job. And this is an op-ed from Joe Ricalto out of Hornell. You can find this at hornellsun.com. But it's an opinion piece, and it says the Steuben County Legislature has once again revealed its true motives. Not a commitment to transparency or public safety, but a shameless political attack against Sheriff Jim Allard for daring to speak the truth. The recent statement from county officials, filled with self-congratulatory claims about their support for law enforcement, is nothing more than an attempt to deflect from their own misconduct. Let's be clear. Sheriff Allard has every right to criticize elected officials and county staff when their actions compromise public safety, misuse taxpayer money, or violate the law. His so-called troubling public statements are nothing more than truthful and necessary warnings about the county's mismanagement, unlawful actions, or more likely political interference. This latest statement from the county is just another chapter in a long history of political retaliation. The New York State Supreme Court has already ruled that the legislature acted in bad faith, violated the open meetings law, and illegally attempted to strip Sheriff Allard of indemnification. The court struck down these actions, exposing them for what they truly were, a politically motivated effort to punish the sheriff for refusing to bow to improper demands. The county's attempt to strip the sheriff of indemnification was one of the most reckless and dangerous decisions in Steuben County history. This legal protection is essential for all law enforcement officers to do their jobs without fear of personal financial ruin. The county legislature deliberately put Sheriff Allard at risk, proving once and for all that their so-called, quote, support for law enforcement is nothing more than political theater. The county points to increased funding for the sheriff's office as proof that there is no anti-law enforcement bias. But funding alone does not erase the fact that they have actively worked to undermine the sheriff at every turn. It does not erase the fact that they violated state law, held illegal meetings, and wasted $200,000 in taxpayer money trying to strip an elected sheriff of his ability to serve. Moreover, the suggestion that Sheriff Allard should remain silent and accept these attacks is absurd. When the county orders the sheriff to halt an investigation, when it engages on unlawful closed-door meetings, and when it tries to strip him of critical legal protections, he has a duty to speak out. That is not unprofessional. That is the responsibility of an elected law enforcement leader. The people of Steuben County deserve better. They deserve a government that is transparent, ethical, and focused on public safety, not political vendettas. Instead of working with Sheriff Allard to improve law enforcement, the county legislature has spent years trying to weaken him, retaliate against him, and silence him. The Supreme Court has already ruled against them once, and if they continue down this road, it will not be the last time they face legal consequences for their abuses of power. The residents of Steuben County must demand accountability, transparency, and an end to the political games. Sheriff Allard is doing his job. The county legislature should stop trying to punish him for it. So that was from Joe Ricalto out of Hornell, coming out of HornellSun.com, and I wanted to pass that along to you to kind of encompass what we were talking about yesterday. Also, on the state level, yesterday came the one-house budget. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who, by the way, will be on the program next Friday. So mark your calendar. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be on the program next Friday. I actually have to reach out to Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski, and find out when he's going to be on. But Phil Palmisano reacted to the one-house budget, saying today, Assembly Democrats released their proposed one-house budget, which is nothing more than the usual progressive Democrat playbook of more uncontrolled and unsustainable spending and taxes. Their proposal totals $256.5 billion. That's $4.5 billion more than the governor proposed and $13 billion more than last year. At a time when our state faces fiscal challenges, including multi-billion out-year budget deficits, we need to rein in spending, not significantly increase it. It is a fact that in face of high taxes, high prices, and poor business climate, New York leads the country in out-migration. Instead of addressing these issues, Assembly Democrats chose to propose a budget that will ultimately hurt New York families, businesses, and the economy by increasing spending and raising both income and business taxes. Their usual tax and spend policies would just drive more families, farmers, small businesses, and manufacturers out of the state. Contributing to our nation-leading out-migration, New York families and businesses across the state are making difficult decisions and tightening their financial belts. My colleagues should do the same. They need to remember it is the people's money, not their own. And then Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski, former congressman, now Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski, also weighed in on the one-house budget, saying, as we continue budget negotiations, every New Yorker should be grateful that this isn't the final spending plan. I'm going to work with Assembly Minority Leader Will Barclay and my colleagues in the Minority Caucus to propose cuts to help New York's already struggling taxpayers. The majority delivered a budget with no regard to fiscal responsibility or the affordability crisis New Yorkers are facing. It's an indefensible and irresponsible runaway spending spree. As I said in January, this is what happens when you think throwing money at a problem is your only solution. My colleagues in the majority like to talk about how New York is leading the nation. Because of budgets like this, we are leading the nation with the highest tax burden in the country. The average New York taxpayer shells out more than $12,000 in taxes per year when the national average is around $7,000. That's unsustainable and a major reason why people are fleeing the state in record numbers. If we want to attract more businesses and residents, we need to make New York a more affordable place to live. That starts with a reasonable state budget, cutting spending, and increasing government efficiency. This budget proposal does none of that. So thank you. That was released yesterday. We also see that the Democrats in Albany rejected Hochul's involuntary commitment push in their budget proposals. They ignored that. That was the idea of helping people that were experiencing mental health issues to commit them. But we knew it was, we had predicted anyway on this program that it was dead in the water because Carl Hasty came out and said something to the extent of, we'll see, the devil's in the details kind of idea, meaning wasn't going to happen. And they also rejected the governor's proposed changes to the discovery law. And as we've said in the past, the governor does not have the backbone to fight the far left in Albany. She really only has the backbone to fight vindictively our corrections officers and fight for your right in New York City to be taxed by congestion pricing. That's really the only backbone that she has. But the Post editorial board says that New York's legislature gave kind of, we'll say it was rude. I don't want to say exactly how they put it, but it was rude to Governor Hochul, Mayor Eric Adams, and beleaguered city residents by rejecting a move to get the obviously, seriously, dangerously mentally ill off New York streets and subways. The state, Senate, and Assembly budget proposals omitted the governor's push for the budget law to make it easier to involuntarily commit unwell, often violent people who are at risk to themselves and others. The Senate even wants to make the problem worse by tightening the rules. Vague language in current law leaves healthcare providers too timid in judging whether someone is in bad enough shape to be checked into a facility without their consent. Hochul wants to expand the involuntary commitment standard and give providers more clarity, which is the bare minimum to start getting dangerously unwell people off the street and into treatment. Yes, this was the bare minimum that Hochul was proposing. And even that was too much for the far left one-party rule in Albany. Speaker Carl Hastie excuse for omitting Hochul's proposal is his old claim that there should be no policy in the budget. A cowardly cop-out, since the budget is intrinsically all about policy choices. But that's less toxic than the Senate's call to raise the standard for involuntary commitment to those who are presenting an imminent risk of serious physical harm to themselves or others, as manifested by homicidal or other violent behavior. That is, do nothing until you can prove someone's on the very brink of hurting or killing him or herself or others, or has already attacked someone. Mental health care is a public good, a reality progressives heartily agree with, as long as the topic is upwardly mobile millennials going to therapy. But when it comes to seriously mental illnesses, the screaming on the street, shoving folks in front of the subway, suddenly progressives think getting people that treatment they need is cruel and inhumane. Next time you're maneuvering around a dangerously seemingly loon above or below ground, remember, the Democrats who run the legislature think we need much more folks running free, guaranteeing even more maimings, killings, and avoidable tragedies to come. Well, it's just like bail reform that they pushed in the past, the HALT Act. We see that they always want to tie the hands of law enforcement and coddle the criminals. All right, we got to take a break. Well, look at all these waves coming in. When we come back, Chuck Schumer caving, clearing the way for the spending bill, the GOP spending bill. We're going to tell you what people had to say about that. We also have quite a few things here about Democrats in general. I know it's March of 2025, but a lot of talks about who's going to be running for president in 2028 on the Democratic ticket. Yesterday, it sure seems like Tim Walz is signaling that he wants to run. I know he said last week or the week before that he would run if called upon. I can't imagine too many Democrats are going to call for him. If you remember, Tim Walz was the running mate of Kamala Harris, in case you have forgotten. But he is now doing town halls in some districts where the Republican congressperson isn't doing in-person town halls. I guess that's a way to keep his name on the national stage. And then we heard Gavin Newsom. There's Rahm Emanuel. Looks as if he wants to run. That's a blast from the past. But those are just a couple of people, and we have a couple other updates as well. Hey, don't forget, I mentioned it earlier, but if you're sitting around today looking for something to watch, it's a lot of fun. Go to WYDCTV.com, and we have that Eagle Nest video up. It's live stream of the Eagle's Nest. I think it's kind of fun. Just get lost in it at Big Bear. That is, again, on WYDCTV.com. Let's take that break. Wow, waves coming in. Everybody's getting up a little late. They stayed up wanting to see the lunar eclipse, and they're just waking up. Look at all these waves. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Well, why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning is now offering residential plumbing services. A local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. You can trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
Every Judge Mathis presides.
Don't you ever form your mouth to talk to me like that.
Is another day when someone gets what they deserve.
What's wrong with you?
Mathis Court with Judge Mathis.
The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Comment from a viewer. Hochul has done her dirty work to the guards and law-abiding gun owners, so we should join forces to vote her out. Thank you very much, viewer. So Schumer will clear the way for the Republican spending bill. Many Democrats had agitated for the party to hang together and block the measure in defiance of President Trump, but the leader said doing so would prompt a shutdown that would only empower the president. Now, the deadline is midnight tonight. During a private luncheon with Democrats, Schumer stunned many of his colleagues by announcing that he planned to vote to allow the GOP bill to move forward and indicated that he had enough votes to help Republicans break any filibuster by his own party against the measure. It was a turnabout from just a day earlier when he said the Democrats were unified. This is creating a scenario where a lot of Democrats are calling for him to really give up this leadership position, that he just doesn't have the fight in him, the drive in him in the right way. I'm not saying he's not willing to be a thorn in Trump's side through his annoyance, but he doesn't have. It's just like going back to that video at that anti-Elon Musk protest, where he just said, we will win, and everybody said, this is not the guy to lead the charge against Trump. And I've, anecdotally, mind you, but I've heard from Democrat friends who are saying that he's weak, saying that he doesn't have it, that he is doing a terrible job. Now, his announcement came yesterday with a little more than 24 hours before the shutdown deadline. If Congress fails to approve legislation extending federal funding, it will lapse at 12:01 a.m. tomorrow. Now, Representative AOC said that it would be a mistake for Schumer not to block the bill. I hope that individuals that are considering that reconsider it. I generally do. I don't think it's what New Yorkers want. Now, according to CNN, that has called, and we'll talk about it in just a second, but that has caused some Democrats to push AOC to primary Chuck Schumer in a Senate race. But before we talk about that, CNN says Schumer backs down on fight. So you've got cave, you've got back down on fight against the GOP's government funding bill. Now, yesterday we had that piece from Stephen Collinson that said, actually, if they let the government shut down, it makes them look even weaker. So they were in, and Trump predicted this, actually, before Schumer did a U-turn, before he caved, before he backed down. Trump, I'm just paraphrasing, but Trump said that he's going to look bad. He's lost this battle. And it's exactly what happened. He lost this battle. And it's showing what is already being seen as a very weak party after the State of the Union. I'm just going to keep calling it the State of the Union. I know technically it wasn't. But after they showed how lost in the woods they are, how there is no message, how weak they looked, this is just more, you could say, icing on that cake. This is just another example of the weakness and of Chuck Schumer's leadership, but also the Democrat Party, because you had a Democrat Party who looked like children throwing a tantrum in the speech in the joint sessions with no clear message. Even many Democrats embarrassed at their own party. We had that great piece that we read at the time. So you add on top of that now what looked like it was going to be a fight that they were willing to take on, and then a complete caving within 24 hours. I'm going to tell you what he had to say about it. But Cory Booker said, we are in a perverse, bizarro land where we're having to decide between letting Donald Trump wreck the government this way or wreck the government that way. Perhaps the clear sign of the dilemma, their top two leaders took opposite paths, with Schumer deciding to vote for the GOP plan, while Hakeem Jeffries has spent a full week bashing it. That is interesting. Yes, that goes to show you kind of the disarray that the Democrat Party is in today. Jeffries said, Dr. King once made the observation that although everyone may not see it at the moment, the time is always right to do what's right. This week, House Democrats did what was right. We stood up against Donald Trump. We stood up against Elon Musk. We stood up against the extreme MAGA Republicans. We can defend that vote because we stood on the side of the American people. Now you have Schumer supporting the continuing resolution. Representative Jim McGovern said he's angry. Maybe they'll toughen up the fight on reconciliation. I don't know. This guy, meaning Trump, is ruining the country. And I just expected more fight. So the Democrat Party not happy with their leadership at this point. But Kirsten Gillibrand was screaming at her fellow Democrats. It's being reported throughout the day yesterday that she was reportedly heard screaming during a meeting with her Democrat Senate colleagues on how to deal with the shutdown. The New York Democrat was yelling so loudly during the private lunch on Capitol Hill that her voice could be heard through the room's thick wood doors, according to Fox News. Quote, she seems to be making the case against allowing the government to shut down, said Punch Bowl News reporter Andrew Desirio, who was eavesdropping on the meeting. Now, Gillibrand's office has not commented on the issue because there's kind of the Fetterman branch and the AOC branch of the Democrat Party right now. And what Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer and some of the old guard, if you will, the old leadership thinks, they see that they don't want to shut down, the optics of a shutdown. But then you have the new guard, the AOCs of the world, that want to fight Trump at every turn for anything. So Gillibrand heard screaming. Now we're going to talk about a couple of criticisms of Schumer on this and also what Chuck Schumer had to say. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. And we're going to have some Doge updates. So feel free to comment at any time. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Discover a path to receiving an exceptional educational experience with all costs covered. That's our mission. Find your future at Milton Hershey School.
Your water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Setting it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
I have 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardians at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardians can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardians and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardians may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardians. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardians is really swell, the little pill with a big...
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. I know all morning long I've been telling you about the Eagle's Nest camera at Big Bear that you can find at WYDCTV.com. I just realized, why don't I show you what that looks like? And I had that prepared better. There we go. Look, that's live. Eagle right there in the Eagle's Nest. You can find that. It's 24/7 at WYDCTV.com. Keeping her eaglets warm on what looks like a cold morning there at Big Bear. Okay, comment from a viewer. This is a message to all parents. If you care about your children, you protect them from bullies. And right now, they're being harmed by the world's biggest bully, and that's Donald Trump. He's making a fool out of our country, and we'll never get our reputation back, and it's ridiculous. Please protect your children. That's a comment from a viewer. Thank you for the voice message. That was over voice message, so a little bit of it got at the end got lost in translation. I hope I didn't miss your overall point, but thank you for calling in. All right, talking about the government shutdown or lack thereof, Ocasio-Cortez has mobilized Democrats against Schumer, and many of her colleagues are calling or urging her to consider a primary challenge, according to CNN. She said that she plans to mobilize her massive base of followers to oppose what she described as an acquiescence by Chuck Schumer. Quote, I think there's a deep sense of outrage and betrayal. She said her fellow Democrats are texting, calling, sending carrier pigeons to mobilize the Democratic base against Schumer's plan to allow the GOP funding bill to advance. As she slams Senate Democrats for the decision to completely roll over and give up on protecting the Constitution. Asked whether Senate Democrats need new leadership, AOC would say only that she is focused on how to prevent her party from accepting the bill. We have time to correct course on this decision. Senate Democrats can vote no. We can correct course, and that is the most important thing in front of us right now. Privately, House Democrats are so infuriated with Schumer's decision that some have begun encouraging her to run against Schumer in a primary, according to a Democratic member who directly spoke with AOC about running. Multiple Democrats in the Congressional Progressive Caucus and others directly encouraged AOC to run on Thursday night's meeting after Schumer's announcement. The members said that Democrats were so mad that even centrist Democrats were ready to write checks for AOC for Senate. I don't know when he's up again, though. When is he up? But speaking to reporters, AOC did not hold back on her criticism of Senate Democrats, saying there are members of Congress who have won Trump-held districts in some of the most difficult territories in the United States, who walked the plank and took innumerable risks in order to defend the American people, in order to defend Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. Just to see Senate Democrats even consider acquiescing to Elon Musk, I think is a huge slap in the face. I think there's a wide sense of betrayal if things proceed as currently planned. Democrats not happy with Democrats right now. I do like that she had to get that line in there about Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, because it's just a talking point, folks. Do not worry about that. We had that great piece last week that said, do not worry about that. That is not a case. That's just what they always claim. I'm trying to see here. I'm not sure when Chuck Schumer is up again for election. I was just going to try to look it up quickly here on the air. We'll let you know after the next break. But I think I've got to say, so Gillibrand just won probably 2 years, maybe, up for re-election. I shouldn't be doing this live on the air. It's going to be a little while. Anyway, 2029. According to this, I believe it looks like, yes, 2029. So a lot of time for AOC to not only make that decision, but also have either her popularity rise or fade away. Schumer's shutdown surrender sends the left into a rage, according to Politico. The Democrat base wants a fight. Chuck Schumer won't give it to him. And you do see that rising want for a fight with Democrats. That's why there has been so many anti-Trump rallies even locally, why you've had these town halls disrupted and with shouting and screaming, which again, I think proves a point why there shouldn't be as many in-person town halls, not because I don't believe constituents deserve it. I do believe they deserve a right to speak with their congressperson. I don't believe those town halls should be held in bad faith, where the people demanding them now are demanding them only so they can shout down their congressperson, as happened yesterday in that video you saw in the news and what we talked about in the 6 o'clock hour, just used as propaganda to say, look, all the country is against Trump, even in these red districts. It's an old political trick. But the Senate Minority Leader backed away from the shutdown, as we know, and it sent shockwaves through the left and had many of their ranks seething at Chuck Schumer, who has sought to win them over in recent years. Ezra Levin, the co-executive director of the liberal grassroots organization Indivisible, quickly dubbed it the Schumer surrender. By the way, you ever notice how when it's a liberal group, it's always liberal grassroots organizations? And these grassroots organizations get a lot of money from people like George Soros. But anyway, I guess we'll find out to what extent Schumer is leading the party into irrelevance. Adding, the decision tells me maybe he's lost a step. Ooh. The news that the top Senate Democrat would be backing down dejected scores of House members who were gathered at a resort about 25 miles outside of Washington. They had stuck together behind Hakeem Jeffries. Jim McGovern said extremely disappointed. It gives them the ability, Elon Musk, the ability to go through and continue to do the, we'll say, stuff he's doing. And further outside Washington, longtime party activists and high-collar donors fumed about Schumer, saying he stinks and that this caving was political malpractice. This is coming from far-left Politico, by the way. In anticipation of the criticism he was certain to receive, Schumer delivered a 10-minute speech on the Senate floor defending his decision, and he even released an op-ed. Well, the left is mad. I can't blame him. I mean, he doesn't. If you put the shoes on of a Democrat right now, pretend you're a Democrat, would you be happy with his leadership? Because Donald Trump has accomplished so much in 53 days, I think it's been, 54 or something like that, days. They have not even been able to create a message against Trump because he's moving so quickly. By the time they come up with a message for one issue, that issue is in the rearview mirror. So they haven't done a good job of combating him. And now you painted yourself into a corner where Trump's going to win no matter what. I mean, I can understand where Democrats would be upset at their leadership right now. But Chuck Schumer, in an essay to the New York Times, said Trump and Musk would love a shutdown. We must not give them one. So in an op-ed written by undoubtedly one of his aides, he said, right now, Mr. Trump owns the chaos in the government. He owns the chaos in the stock market. He owns the damage happening to our economy. The stock market is falling and consumer confidence is plummeting. In a shutdown, we would be busy fighting with Republicans over which agencies to reopen and which to keep closed instead of debating the damage Mr. Trump's agenda is causing. I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country to minimize the harms to the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open. He was also on MSNBC's All In yesterday. And he said under a shutdown, it is the executive branch, in this case, Trump, Musk, Doge, I always forget how to say his name, who's head of the OMB, who we all know are authoritarians, vicious, nasty, who would have sole control over what is funded and what isn't. They get to determine what is essential service. And they will just cut to smithereens far greater than the CR bill, which is a lousy bill, far greater than what could be funded and what couldn't. And there's no recourse. You can't go to court. This is a decision totally in the executive branch, and so it would be devastating. There's no exit ramp. Anyone who wants the shutdown, I've asked them, well, how do we get out of it? Guess who's it up to get out of it? Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Doge. So it's horrible. It's two bad alternatives. And I respect people who actually don't want me to vote for the CR. It's awful. But with the alternative being a government shutdown, that's even worse. We have summed up in a sentence that we're making the middle class pay for tax cuts for billionaires. It's much, much better not to be in the middle of a shutdown, which to divert people from the number one issue we have against these, and then he cusses, these people, which is not only all these cuts, but they're ruining democracy. Man. Senator Jeff Merkley, said that now is the best time to take on a tyrant. You don't stop a bully by giving over your lunch money, and you don't stop tyrant Trump by voting to give him more power. That is absolutely the wrong approach. There are others who say, it's a shutdown. The president may have more power than we've seen in any previous shutdown. There's a legitimate case to be made on both sides of this argument. But here's where I'm aware of, and that is in history, as you see institutions degrade in republics, where there's an authoritarian president, is because the courts cave and you get an acquiescence legislature. The best time to take on a tyrant is as early as possible, and this is that moment. We have the leverage as a Democrat caucus to insist on negotiations, to produce those bills onto the floor, those appropriations bills onto the floor. This is the moment to use that leverage. I think the concerns about the Republicans shutting down the government, because it will be the Republicans that do it. It will hurt them politically. It will be bad policy, and we will get back to using our leverage in an effective fashion. See what he did there, and it's very typical. Blaming the Republicans for the shutdown. There's no way to blame them, but he was trying to do that because he knew the media would run with that, and he knew he wouldn't be called to task for it. But we got to take a short break. Wow, look at all these comments coming in. We'll read as many as we can when we get back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV. Big Fox, I got to get my bearings here. Which break am I on? There we go. We'll be right back.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
There are days I feel stuck in my head. Even on an antidepressant, lingering depression symptoms can make it hard to break through. I wanted more from my antidepressant. I asked about Vraylar. Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant significantly reduces overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone.
Vraylar isn't approved for elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis due to increased risk of death or stroke. Report changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts to your doctor. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death. Weight gain and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, tremors, slow or uncontrolled body movements, restlessness and feeling like you need to move, nausea, constipation, insomnia, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are common. Side effects may not appear for weeks.
Vraylar, breaking through to relief. Ask about Vraylar.
Corning, Elmira, Horseheads, Cornell, Bath, Watkins Glen. Big Fox, 10 p.m. news, the first primetime local news in the Twin Tiers. Catch news from your area, weather forecasts, and local events. And visit our website at WYDCTV.com anytime to stay up to date on weather, news articles, and local events. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So many comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I'm just curious if the caller would share the main reason that they feel that President Trump is a threat to our children. Please elaborate. Okay, that was in reference to a viewer earlier that said that Trump was the biggest bully. So if you would like to respond, feel free. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. To the person that sent the message that's saying that Trump's the biggest bully and that we need to save our children, why is it that they can never say what is going on that is supposedly going to harm our children? It definitely isn't abolishing the Federal Department of Education. They've admitted themselves that that really doesn't serve any purpose. Thank you. Another comment. Good morning, Frank. We're getting a lot of good mornings. Obviously, the prior opinion, this is all in reference to the phone call. Obviously, the prior opinion of protecting your children from Trump is a supporter of men and girls sports, walking around in their locker rooms. Talk about protecting children. The hypocrisy is astounding. Great work, Frank. Well, thank you. Thank you for the comment. Comment from a different viewer. Wow, AOC is right about something. Schumer needs to go. The problem is the people calling on AOC to be the senator, that'd be scary. Another comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Speaking of eagles, yes, we had the Eagle Cam. You can find that from Big Bear. It's that live camera. You can find it at WYDCTV.com. Speaking of eagles, are your viewers concerned that the deregulation of environmental regulations by EPA will likely result in negative impacts to things we are fortunate to enjoy here in the southern tier, like eagles, the water quality in our rivers and Finger Lakes, safe drinking water, not having raw sewage all over the place? We have those resources to enjoy because of regulations. Thank you very much. We do have an update on the EPA, as a matter of fact, that you say that in just a little bit. Hopefully we can get to it. And I don't remember what that update was, but I know it was an important one. I would say that if I don't want to speak for all the viewers, I would say that many of the rules and regulations and many of the jobs that have lost it, this is happening, and keep this in mind when it comes to the VA, some of the jobs that DOJ has went after, that the media is going to play into the worst stories. We predicted this, and it wasn't much of a prediction, a long time ago, that you can kind of already see the writing on the wall of how the media will represent this. And I think to that viewer's point, which is a fair question, I'm not saying it's not a fair question, I think it's just like when AOC mentions that this continuing resolution, there's going to be cuts in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. They always, and it's not true, that's not truthful. The media is going to suggest that there is going to be sewage running everywhere and that we need more regulations. And I don't know. I think EPA's job and DOJ's job has been to look at what can be cut and what can't be, but I don't want to speak for all the viewers. But thank you for the comment. Ken writes in, I think you just made my wife a dedicated viewer of Frankly Speaking. Well, that's great. She has been a big fan of the Big Bear Eagles for several years. Jackie, Shadow, and this year, they're 3 baby eagles. Yes, we have that video right up on WYDCTV.com. I know that there's a cult-like following of Jackie and Shadow, and that's why we're glad we could get it on the website and have that opportunity for you to see. And that's owned and operated by Friends of Big Bear Valley, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. Any public use of the live video, I don't need to read a whole disclaimer. That's up on the website, but I want to thank them for letting us use that and put that up on WYDCTV.com. All right, I know we'll have more comments coming in. Boy, this show's going quick. Libby Emmons says Democrats are letting America down. With no real platform, no position, no leadership, and no prospects, they're derelict in their duty to provide a valiant opposition to the GOP. And you know, this is what we've been talking about this last few segments. I understand why Democrats would be mad at how this is all shaping up. And now with yet another loss with the leadership of Chuck Schumer saying that he would vote for the continuing resolution. As stunning as the total collapse of the Democrat Party has been to behold, it also has been unnerving. Non-hyper-partisan Americans expect some equilibrium between the parties, not to see one political faction go straight off a cliff. Democrats have no direction. Instead of making deals, they hold up traffic. Chuck Schumer threatens a government shutdown rather than pass a spending bill the House sent his way. Jasmine, and of course he U-turned, then he caved. Jasmine Crockett's out there cursing a blue streak. Yeah, that seems to be how they show that they're fighting now. And again, I would point back to the speech at the joint sessions by Trump and how it showed that they were going off a cliff. None of this is cohesive opposition. Elected and their media cronies are pulling plays from their same tired game plan that failed them and failed the rest of us, like always saying that every budget that the Republicans put forward is going to cut Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. Instead of bringing fresh talent, new ideas, rational arguments, or any alternative to Americans, they are content to rend their garments and scream without putting up any real contrast to the ruling regime. Our entire government system is based on checks and balances, but the Democrats are letting themselves be knocked around like the sad emo kid in a phys ed dodgeball game, says Libby Emmons. Oh my gosh, we got to go to another break. Democrats don't have to listen to me. After all, I left the party in 2020, she says, when its commitment to censorship, canceling, violent and pointless civil unrest, anti-racism, and a rejection of biological reality just got too much for me. But they must at least listen to the American people who crave a common sense, rational balance of power at every level of government. And an opinion piece at SF Gate said, hey, Democrats, wake the blank up. And I would like to read this because it was actually a very good piece, but it was so full of cuss words and things like that that I don't dare. But it was written by Drew McGarry, and he is a Democrat, and he's outraged at what they're doing. He says the sky is falling. The federal government is being illegally dissolved before your very eyes. The workers you rely on to ensure that you don't eat ground beef tainted with paint chips are being laid off en masse. And he goes on, and he talks about what the response is, and he mocks and ridicules the response at the speech to the joint sessions. He criticized Joe Biden for staying in the race too long, which I think they've made Biden the scapegoat on that. Criticized Harris, who couldn't get voters excited, even admitting in this, I thought you were going to win. He talks about John Fetterman, how he doesn't like Fetterman because now he's, quote unquote, caving to Republicans. There is a lot of anger out there. Mad at Gavin Newsom for going on Charlie Kirk's show. Many Democrats believe their party is not only not speaking for them, that it is falling apart. But you can weigh in on that. Keep the comments coming in. We got to take another break. And we'll be back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When I was in law school, my father had to stop working when he developed early Alzheimer's. Social Security disability benefits saved my parents financially. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. Now I'm a lawyer who helps people when they need Social Security disability. If you can't work, I'd like to help.
For a free consultation, call Lockman & Gorton toll-free 1-800-698-0567.
Every year, millions fly with us at Allegiant because together, we go places. We see old friends and try new things. We laugh. We really like to laugh. And reconnect. We remember. And we wander, which leads to wonder. From how we go to where we go to what we do when we get there, we go further together.
Meet the dark days of winter and have a vacation from taxation with the Hustlesense Hot Tub. What better way to start or end every day than with hot water therapy and your very own Hustlesense Hot Tub. With every spot purchase, Hustlesense guarantees great customer satisfaction and the best service team in the area. Plus, with Hustlesense Vacation from Taxation sales event, free steps, free cover lifter, free music, and 0% interest-free financing. Ask about Hustlesense Chemical Auto Ship program and save even more. Stop in today and see why after 70 years it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hustlesense.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Frankly Speaking studio at the Hustleson studio on Frankly Speaking. Excuse me, I combined those two. I'm trying to read the comments. Get your last minute comments in because we have to take another break before the program ends on this Friday edition. Just to piggyback off of these tales of kind of Democrat woe. Rich Lowry says it's a trope to say that Donald Trump's opposition has been shell-shocked and rudderless in the wake of his election victory and his fast start out of the gate. Not to fear, though, the left, with Soros-funded organizations taking a big role, has its next project, an intifada against the country's largest maker of electric cars. Everyone has a right to peacefully protest, of course, and to refuse to buy whatever products they wish. But when the left engages in direct action, it's always a sign you should take steps to protect your property and your person. And he wraps up, we don't have time to get to all of this, but he wraps it up by saying, it is darkly amusing to see people who claim electric cars are necessary to save the planet attack the most successful EV brand in the country and take out the kind of charging stations that President Biden labored so mightily to build. The left still doesn't have an answer to Donald Trump, but they've sure found a cudgel against one of American industry's most innovative products. Now, Buttigieg looks as if he is going to run for president. He decided not to run for Michigan's open Senate seat, clearing a path for a potential presidential campaign instead. That's Pete Buttigieg, former transportation secretary. Gavin Newsom, who we've been talking about a lot the last few weeks, makes a pitch to conservatives with an eye towards 2028. He's been on conservative podcasts. He's got his own podcast. I guess he's had conservative guests on, and he occasionally agrees with them. You ever notice how someone has to fake being conservative if they want to win? And then, of course, they don't govern that way. All right, we're going to have some updates on Trump's administration when we come back. Get those last-minute comments in so I can read them here on the program before we wrap up the Friday edition of Frankly Speaking. We will be right back after this quick commercial break. Stay with us.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And your Ford dealer is the place to start. With a full lineup of vehicles and available powertrains. Get your ideal combination of power and capability with gas, hybrid, or all electric. But more important than the power you choose is what you choose to do with it.
Right now, returning lessees can get a Ford Escape for $199 a month for 24 months. Only at your local Ford stores.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDC. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Frankly Speaking. Ken writes in, wouldn't it be great if after the federal or state elections, it was illegal for the Dems or Republicans to caucus, Zoom, or meet in any other way as a party? If all discussions dealing with the federal or state governments had to be bipartisan, Democrats or Republican coalitions to band together as a party would be harder to develop. The original intention of political parties was to give the people a choice of which direction they wanted the country or state to go. Once the electorate selected our representatives, the political party affiliations were to disappear and everyone was to work together as a group. Could you imagine? I mean, there are some politicians that only vote from what the talking points say from their party. So yeah, I could. It would be a very different political world, wouldn't it? Fred writes in, correction from what I just heard. Newsom was not on the Charlie Kirk show. Charlie Kirk was. Yeah, I'm sorry. I tried to clarify that when I was saying it. If you watch it, be sure to note the artwork Newsom chose to hang. Looks like Hunter's Sharpie on white background scribble. Thanks, Fred. Yeah, I'm sorry. I confused that when I was the way I worded it. Yes, I understand that was to kick off Newsom's podcast that he had. So thank you for clarifying that. I thought I did, but I didn't do a good job of it. So thank you. Donald Trump has ordered the military to drop plans to seize the Panama Canal, according to sources. Take it with a grain of salt, of course. Two officials told NBC News. Trump is pushing the annexation of Greenland during a meeting with the NATO secretary. Oh, we're going to move quick, just like Trump's agenda. We're going to move quick here on the way out the door. The USPS, the United States Postal Service, is striking a deal with DOGE and helps in hopes of reform, because we know that has had serious problems for years now, big problems. USPS, an independent government agency with 635,000 employees that lost $9.5 billion last year, has been exempt from DOGE-directed federal employee reductions. But the Postmaster General, Luis DeJoy, told Congress in a letter that USPS plans to reduce its workforce by 10,000 workers in the next month through a voluntary early retirement program. The post office has cut 30,000 jobs since 2021. He said the agreement with DOGE and the General Services Administration will allow the government reform team to assist us in identifying and achieving further efficiencies. And the DOGE team was gracious enough to ask for big problems they can help us fix. Now, Elon Musk was ordered by a judge to release internal records explaining the mass firings. That's from U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, and gave Elon 3 weeks to comply with a discovery order that requires him to answer questions about the internal workings of DOGE and turn over all relevant documents detailing his mass government slashings, according to the filing. All right, how am I doing on time? Not good. Illegal migrant gotaways at border has plummeted 95% from Biden administration highs as Trump cracked down. Border agents are spotting an average of 77 illegal migrant gotaways, according to Fox News, each day. Border Patrol agents use a surveillance camera. During the height of the border crisis under the Biden administration, an average of more than 1,800 illegal migrant gotaways were recorded sneaking through each day. That marks a 95% drop. And the FBI's new task force arrested 214 criminals, including TDA and MS-13 gang members, in 2 weeks. 214 arrests. The Trump administration demands that the UN agencies disclose any anti-American ties. They are demanding UN humanitarian agencies that receive or disperse U.S. funding fill out a questionnaire disclosing any ties to communist, socialist, or anti-American beliefs. That's it. We are out of time for today's edition. I hope I see all of you at Wienerville this Saturday. That's the Moose Lodge's fundraiser for the Salvation Army of Corning. I hope that you'll join all of us. Look at that. By the way, we got 30 waves today. Thank you, everybody. We had a blast. We're going to have a blast tomorrow at the Corning Moose Lodge from 4 to 10. All you can eat hot dogs and baked potato bars served from 4 to 7. Live music from Wasting Time from 5 to 8. And costs is just $15 per person. I hope everybody can make it out. And come over and say hi. And help out an amazing cause with the Salvation Army. Also, don't forget to go to WYDCTV.com for the Big Bear, Bald Eagle live stream nest. And also, before you go to Wienerville, I hope that you can make it out to Hornell for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which begins at 11 a.m. and they'll march down Seneca Street to Main Street, ending at the main place. We are out of time. Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe. We'll see you at the Moose Club, and we'll see you Monday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I look forward to it already.